of the three spiritual exercises recommended by the Holy Scriptures during the season of Lent: prayer, almsgiving, and fasting. Which one do you find most attractive? Of course, for those who like to eat, fasting is the least attractive. But for those who wants to be vain and beautiful and look slim, fasting perhaps has a double motive. We can say it's spiritual, but at the same time, it is for the sake of vanity reasons and also for physical health. In itself, it is not wrong, but this is not the whole purpose of the Church's recommendation for us to fast and to do penance. The purpose is basically for a spiritual benefit. Fasting is meant to help us to yearn for God, to long for God, which means fasting, therefore, is necessary when we do not feel the presence of God in our lives, because we are so drawn to this world, and the pleasures of this life sometimes make us forget that our life is but a pilgrimage on this earth. Those of us who have good things in life never think of life hereafter. Only those who are miserable, those who are suffering, they are always waiting to die and go to heaven. So fasting is important to help us to recover the presence of God and our final goal in life, that our life here is but a pilgrimage, and so it is transitory. It is important, therefore, that if we want to be reunited with God, then what must we do? We must remove all the obstacles from doing God's will. So fasting is to help us to conform ourselves to do the will of God, to remove every obstacle that prevents us from doing God's will. So doing God's will is what gives us peace. Doing God's will is what gives us true happiness in life. When our conscience is not clear, when we fight against the will of God, just like Adam and Eve, we will find there is division in our hearts, and we bring division among our brothers and sisters. And so this is why it is important for us to seek to do the will of God. The third reason for fasting is really an antidote to sin, because the root of all sins is only one: a lack of love for our brothers and sisters. That is the one sin that hurts God personally. And so it is important, therefore, for us that when we fast and do penance, it is to help us to overcome our self-centeredness, our selfishness. So in fasting, we are supposed to learn how to feel with the sufferings of others, feel with the hunger of the poor, feel with the injustices of those people who suffer oppression. But also fasting is also important, not just in terms of feeling with our brothers and sisters. Fasting is important in the case of helping us to recognize the love of God in our life. So fasting actually helped us to unite ourselves with Christ's suffering. The passion of the cross is an invitation to us to feel with Jesus, to feel for Jesus. Because when we suffer, it is our way in participating in the cross of Christ. And we hope during the season of Lent, as we open our hearts to God, as we open the hearts of our brothers and sisters, we will begin to feel more for our brothers and sisters, just as Christ feels for us. In other words, through the fasting and penance, Christ is inviting us to feel his love for sinners, to feel his love for souls, to feel his love for our wounded brothers and sisters, so that when we share in the passion of Christ, when we share in his love for our brothers and sisters, then we can truly say that we have shared in his passion. So that is why fasting and penance, they helped us to be more integrated with the life of Jesus. That is the purpose of fasting. But finally, fasting is important because fasting means to cling, not to ourselves, but to cling to God. And that is why in his temptation in the desert, when the devil tempted Jesus to rely on himself, to rely on his own strength, to rely on the world, Jesus made it clear to the devil we should just rely on God alone. We should not tempt God. We should only worship him. And so during the season of Lent, the fasting is meant to help us that we should only cling to Christ, cling to his grace, so that we will be able to succumb all the temptations and truly find true remedy for our salvation. When we live a gracious life, a life that is in union with God, a life that is in union with brothers and sisters, then the glory of God will shine in us, and we will become like Jesus and the light of the world and the hope for humanity. So we hope, therefore, during this season, as we share in Jesus' passion, it will not be something that is burdensome, but it is something that is uplifting, something that helps us to go back to the essentials of life. Love God, love our brothers and sisters, for that is what will bring us great joy